Perfect. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being able to join the panel today. My name is Natalia Montero, and I am the Director of Professional Development for UC San Diego's Pre-Law Society, Kappa Alpha Pi. And I am thrilled to welcome all of the representatives from each of the distinguished law schools present here today. Once again, I thank you all for being here and helping our students get more familiar with the law school admissions process and your overall institutions. It truly is an amazing opportunity. This panel will begin with a quick 35-minute Q&A style panel and will soon be followed by a 25-minute period in which we will open up breakout rooms so that attendees can directly engage with admissions officers for additional questions and conversation. So to start, can our panelists please introduce themselves, just name, institution that you're representing, and your position within such office, please? We can
I
start.
will,
Yeah, sorry.
I'll kick it off. I'm Faye Deal. I'm the Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at Stanford Law School. So hello, everyone, and greetings from the North. Thank you very much to our organizers for putting this together. And it is great to see my colleagues. And I imagine you all were reading applications before coming to join the panel. So hello to all of you and looking forward to the conversation.
I'll go next. Thanks for kicking us off, Faye. I'm Carmen Sue. I'm the Director of Admissions at UCLA Law School. I just want to echo Faye's thanks to hosting all of us. It's a great opportunity for all of us to meet all of you. So yeah, looking forward to answering your questions. Thanks for having us.
Hello, everyone. Going further south in California, Leonard Peoples Jr., Assistant Director of Admissions at University of San Diego School of Law. Thanks for having me and looking forward to a great conversation tonight.
We will be followed by Georgetown.
Hi, everyone. I'm over on the other side of the country. My name is Talia Tuck, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admission from Georgetown Law. And thanks again for organizing, Natalia, and it's nice to be here.
Hi, everyone. Over here in the cold, it was snowing here last week in Ithaca, up in New York, upstate New York. My name is Kamala Dino. I'm representing Cornell Law. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here. And thank you so much, Natalia, for putting this together.
And being the anchor, hello everyone. My name is Ben Kwok. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions and Pipeline Initiatives here at UC Irvine Law. Wonderful meeting all of you and looking forward to our hour together.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. And I would also like to take some time to allow the rest of the Professional Development Committee, who was able to put all of this together through great amounts of effort, to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Jack Chassie. I'm the Professional Development Internal Chair.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Hunter. I'm the External Chair of Professional Development.
Hi, my name is Annika Dengel, and I am the Skills and Development Chair of the organization.
Thank you all. And again, without further ado, we'll just head into the first question. The first question will be directed to all panelists present, and it will be as follows. Can you speak to one or two unique aspects of your school's culture, program, or values that applicants may not see on your website or in marketing materials? We'll start off with Stanford and follow the same introduction order.
Okay, great. I'll mention two things. The first I want to mention is that we're on the quarter system. We are one of a very small group of schools that are on that system. And one unique aspect to Stanford is when we switched over to the quarter system, we created what we call the clinic quarter. Now, all law schools will offer clinics, and this is where you actually are working with live clients. And at Stanford, if you take a clinic, it is called your clinic quarter, and that is the only class you will take in that particular quarter. It carries 12 units, so you maintain your full-time status. You're on track to graduate, but it means that your clients get 100% of your attention. No distractions from your tax law class or your criminal procedure class, right? 100%. The second thing I want to mention is a little broader than that, and I want to mention the American frontier, right? Very broad. Pioneers went west generations ago, right, in search of the frontier. And the West has never abandoned or lost this identity. And when Stanford was built in the 1800s, it was still considered the period of the Wild West, right? And this idea of the American frontier was very much a part of our identity then, as it continues to be so today. And we have always viewed the West as a place of possibilities. And that ethos is very prevalent, not just at the law school, but at the greater university itself. And you don't always see this mentioned on our website. So I want to leave you with that.
I guess we're going in the order of introductions, so I will go next. Thank you. Again, UCLA Law School. What I would say is from the website, if you actually study it in its totality, you'll see that we have a wide variety of course curriculums to offer, incredibly in-depth offerings. But I think it's hard to really understand the depth of our curriculum. We have the more traditional areas of law, business law, mock trial, trial advocacy, public interest, but we also have the cutting edge contemporary areas of law, such as our critical race studies program, our Williams Institute that focuses on sexual orientation and gender identity law. We have food law, animal law, health law, our technology law and policy program, and everything in between. So this lends itself to an incredibly diversified intellectual experience within the law school, which reflects the diversity in faculty expertise and hence also reflects the diversity in the classroom of your student body and of your peers. And so if I were, the theme would be that you can't see on the website is the incredibly diverse and vibrant intellectual community that we have at UCLA, not just inside the classroom, but also outside the classroom as you interact with your peers, your faculty, and the administration.
Awesome. At USD Law, I guess one value I kind of want to touch on, I think it is apparent from our website that we are a Catholic law school, Catholic university, but I often get asked about how that shows up in our community and at the law school. And so we don't have any, required courses or anything like that. I mean, we certainly offer like religion and the law, and you're welcome to take that. But really, the way our Catholic values kind of show up is really just how we respect one another and the student body and just or even administrators, how we're going to come together, support one another. That respect factor is absolutely there. Even if you do find yourself being still in the minority, as you may have experienced in the past, at least you can know your peers and colleagues absolutely respect your background and where you're coming from, and that does stem from the Catholic values that the whole university upholds. And then another highlight I just want to give briefly is our student body and just how they interact with one another. It's really heartwarming to see and feel it for myself, how they support and collaborate with one another. It's just this kind of beautiful mindset and 2Ls and 3Ls mentoring, 1Ls of, this is how we operate. This is our identity as a student body. It's okay to share notes. It's okay to share textbooks. If you have a tip about a professor, that's okay too. And so one of the things that I just certainly love to talk about how our student body supports and collaborates one another from beginning to end.
Let's see, I think I'm up. Let's see, there are two things that come to mind. One of them may be somewhat obvious, but I still think it's something I want to share. I think our location in DC is a huge part of the experience at Georgetown. And I mean that from the extent that, yes, you can do externships, internships. The professors are often experts and they'll be testifying on the Hill in one moment and then teaching you the next. But also, I just think the students benefit from being in this really unique city where policy is made. I think that kind of energy is often palpable on campus. There's a certain spirit to, I'm not saying everyone's an activist at Georgetown, but there's certainly a lot of people who are passionate about many causes, and there's always speakers to hear. There's always some organization you can go and listen to a motivational talk, or just there's a lot going on in Washington. So I think that really contributes to the experience of the students when they're not in the class. I would also say we are the nation's largest law school. So There's a lot going on campus. There are a lot of classes, so pretty much anything you want to study, you can. You can go in depth and sort of hang out in one area of the law, or you can take a lot of classes in many areas. So I think we feel like there's a lot of opportunity that comes from the fact that we have so many classes and professors.
So at Cornell, I would say two things are important that you don't always see on the website. For example, since we're such a small community, you get to connect with your faculty and with your friends. Even today, I work with the ambassadors team, and we had a lunch with everyone, and it was great to hear everyone share, for example, how much professors make sure to connect with them and know them not just by their name, but for example, much more what they're involved, what they'd like to do. And I think you get to see this mentorship that goes between the faculty and also between the student body. The second thing I would say that it's not always, I mean, students may look at it on the website, but I also want to highlight it is that we really care about public service, whether it's through pro bono work or clinics. We do have 27 clinics, and one that we offer during 1L is the immigration clinic. And that's something that students are really look forward to and they apply for. So it tends to be a bit competitive for sure, but it's a wonderful clinic to be part of. And on top of that, they also help students in the future, whether it's like through career placement, and also gives them different types of qualities and to then use them for the future, right, for their jobs. So those that would be two things to highlight.
Some of the things that's not obvious in our material and website is like how our faculty have kind of like characterized, like this describe what our students like, and they described it as grit and sunshine. As a young law school that has a lot of kind of idealistic and optimistic outlook on society and culture and how they could make an impact, there's a sense of wanting to work together and everybody benefits from working together. In the sense of like the legal community, sometimes it could be very adversarial and things like that, and sometimes that could pull into even the law school kind of community. I think our law school and our students have been really known to help each other. I think Leonard already shared about like at their school, but our students also very common to share notes, reach out to peers when they're missing in class because maybe they might be out sick. You hear about like students cooking for each other and faculty inviting their students to their homes for uh, to support and to engage. So there's a really sense of, as a young law school that's very idealistic, there's also a really strong sense of ownership, making the positive change. There's like almost sense of torch bearing, like we want to do something better and make an additional contribution that's not traditional in law school. And as we do that, so we take that responsibility very seriously. So that sense of dedication and passion to making a positive change in the legal community is something that's very palpable at the law school.
Absolutely. Thank you all for these very insightful responses. I think you were all able to make your institution come to life. So on to the next question. This will be more focused for USD and Georgetown Law. So what recent curricular or programmatic changes have been made in response to contemporary shifts in the legal profession? And how do you see your school evolving in the coming years?
I can go first. So one that I'm excited to kind of share, we just announced a new innocence clinic. And so as you may have heard from other universities around the country, we're just excited to bring that to University of San Diego, helping with expungements and wrongfully convicted, and adding that to our long list of clinics that we already offer that's doing a lot of great work out in the community. So we're bringing that kind of to the San Diego area and excited about that. Let's see, other shifts with the coming years. I guess also I just want to say, even with kind of the shifts in the legal landscape or law school, looking like 5+ years down the road, we know fewer people are pursuing law school, and then just the job market, things like that. We are trying to be very intentional about, you know, when our students are looking for jobs and how we can help them with that. So I think our students can feel really good that, every department that we have on campus is putting our heads together to think about those things as they're kind of coming down the pipeline to help serve our students. So it's a very intentional in service of our students. Oh, I believe you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? I'm okay. All right. So I would say I don't know if it's a change, but we have introduced a lot of classes in the area of technology in the law. So if you go to Georgetown's website, there are a variety of courses in, say, AI, and there's just various ways that AI is intersecting with the law, theoretically, practically. So we try to sort of keep the curriculum updated. And I guess similarly to what Leonard was saying, before I did admissions, I actually ran one of our centers and institutes that focuses on policing. It's about 5 years old at this point, but we brought DC police to Georgetown to teach them areas of the law that we felt they weren't getting. As thoroughly discussed, I guess, at the academy. So that was sort of in response to a lot of the issues around policing that we have been concerned about. So whether it's in the classroom or whether it's the centers and institutes that we have on campus, which are kind of like our think tanks on campus, we just try to kind of keep up with some of the latest topics and concerns that we're all facing. Similarly, we have clinics at Georgetown. We have 17 of them where students get kind of that practical hands-on experience. So again, you can do that with clients who are facing technology issues or juvenile justice. That's a big one we have as well. So I would say those are just some of the ways that we're trying to keep our finger on the pulse and make sure the students' education is obviously the traditional education, but also very relevant to what is going on in the current times.
Absolutely. Those all sound like very necessary, important, exciting opportunities. So thank you for sharing. Our next question goes over to UCI and Cornell Law School. How does your career services and alumni network support students' paths to both traditional and non-traditional legal careers? What are some practical ways that you set up your students for success if to acquire an internship during 3L or employment after graduation?
I can go first if you like, or do you like? Okay, great.
Heck,
So I basically we is November 20th today. So last week, actually, we had a career fair with students. So again, right now, I'm sure some of you have heard firms are going earlier and earlier to hire students. So that's something that we're working with. Our career services is very hands-on. So even before admitted students get to campus, we will have virtual sessions with them over the summer with all the admitted students. And then once they come into campus, we will make sure to meet with them one-on-one. I mean, not the admissions office, but the career service office, and to ask students what they're looking for, where they like to be, and they can help them, with resume prep, interview prep, and of course, a lot of students are also taking advantage to go through their office hours. They have some of it is very direct and strategic, but also it is up to the student to make sure to use them as a resource and to go and ask questions. Now, the other thing that I would say is that the alumni network. So, for example, coming up in January, we're going to have a few networks in New York City. We're going to do a few events there. For example, in April for the incoming class, we took students to two firms in New York City, and that was great. For example, one of the firms about I'm not even joking, like 10 to 12 Cornellians who, graduated from the law school came in and to greet students. And that was really wonderful just to see how much it showed up. And they wanted to make sure to get everyone comfortable, answer any questions. So that to me, I can see why I do this job, right? So it feels really great to see how much career services cares for their students. So they're definitely in good hands.
Some of the ways that the law school supports from a career development, career opportunity standpoint is like our career development office takes a survey before our students start classes, and they're assigned to specific uh, advisors and directors in their office that it specializes in the career field that our students are interested in. May that be working in private law firms or clerkships or like public interest type of work. So, and they meet regularly at least once each semester with the various services like interview and the resume preparation and all those kind of things. It also helps that California, and especially California, is the second largest legal market in the nation. So there's definitely a lot of interested legal organizations that are readily accessible and available very close to our students. Our alumni network, as I mentioned, there's a very strong sense of ownership. There's mentorship programs from our alums. I see them regularly throughout the campus throughout the year because some student orgs reach out to them for panels are very, very common that our student orgs and offices do for our students. And so we see the alums pretty regularly on campus. And some practical ways that our students find are competitive in the job market. Our students are required to do a clinic before they graduate. So so many of them have written briefs. They've been in the courtroom and have these hands-on experience by their second year. They also have a lot of pro bono opportunities. More than 90% of our students participate in over 100 organizations that we have partnerships with. So during the interview, a lot of them have shared even with me how impactful it is when they say that they've done the work of an attorney as a law student, which is not very common even in the hiring process. I should just mention, I forgot, I wrote in my notes the UC Law Schools have what's called the UCDC program, where you could do an externship for one semester in Washington, D.C. And UC Irvine has a specific program called UC Irvine at NYC as well.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for those responses. This is a question focused on, or more intended for UCLA School of Law and the USD School of Law. What are the strengths of your guys' law schools, clinics, and faculty, and what distinguishes your schools from others of like similar rank or pedigree?
I'll go ahead and start. I would say at UCLA, many people don't know that we were actually one of the first law schools to pioneer experiential learning courses, which includes clinics. So I would say we have, again, which lends itself to my first answer, we have a wide variety of clinics, 40 plus clinics, a number of types of experiential learning, which is clinics, study abroads, and externship programs. Our clinics range from simulated based in addition to live client based, such as our documentary film clinic, where you work with independent filmmakers. We have a Supreme Court clinic, a human rights litigation clinic, prisoners' rights, Supreme Court clinic as well. So lots of areas of different types of law that you can do clinic-based work. Just in terms of experiential learning, we also have, like I mentioned, study abroad programs with 15 law schools around the country, or sorry, around the world. And our externship program is part-time and full-time, so you can essentially hold an externship job, whether that be full-time or part-time, and still earn credit and and the credits go towards your graduation. In terms of the faculty, I would say, our faculty just features leading scholars in a wide variety of disciplines. As I mentioned, we have a large range of types of law that you can study here at the law school. And our faculty are among the most cited by appellate judges and their fellow scholars within their disciplines. So, if you were to come to UCLA, you would again be able to be exposed to a lot of different areas of law. In terms of differences in UCLA as opposed to other similarly ranked schools, I would encourage you to certainly do your research and do the comparisons because I am no expert at other law schools. But I do just want to underscore some of the things that I've already mentioned in terms of the disciplines that we have here, the faculty. And, I also want to mention, obviously, our location in LA and the fact that we are located on the UCLA campus. And we have a lot of program centers and institutes that, such as the ones that I mentioned earlier, where you can do research with professors as well.
If I may just put kind of before I do my highlights at University of San Diego, put an exclamation point on Carmen's point that, for you and looking at law schools, it's going to be what aligns with your interest. And so I believe it was Dean Fay who mentioned, we all do have clinics, but covering the different areas of law, what serves your interest a little bit more than maybe another law school does. And it's totally okay that one law school, notches for you on your list a little bit more than another. So just to put an exclamation point on that as we're kind of talking about this, but I will go ahead and answer the question. Highlights at University of San Diego. The way I like to phrase it actually is most popular areas kind of amongst our students. And so right now that is business and corporate law, immigration, given our location, and public interest, and then intellectual property. And so I want to just spend a moment on intellectual property because, as we kind of all know, it's a booming field, booming area of law currently. And we actually, in preparation for tonight, I was taught and quickly learned we actually have some leading researchers, professors in that area. And so they are trying to get a jump on it and then also bringing students in as research assistants and giving them those opportunities to engage in that area of law with them. So very exciting for our law school and just to see the students engage in that way. Um, and really, I guess just go adding to our longer list of not as many clinics as UCLA, but like 13 to actually with the Innocence Clinic, I believe that's 14 now. And so it is fairly litigation heavy. So once you join, one or two of those clinics in your law school career, you would be getting outside of the classroom. We very much have that belief of learning outside of the classroom just as much as inside the classroom. Um, and, of course, real cases that you can, be a student attorney and gain that experience while in law school. So maybe that is maybe unique to USD that we are really focused on litigation through our clinics.
Thank you both so much for sharing your insights. That was super helpful. This next question is directed at Stanford and UCI. The question is, what type of experience do you expect from competitive applicants, and how much legal experience does factor into these decisions?
I'll jump in first, and I think it's important to first note that a competitive applicant has many pieces to the application, right? It's rarely the case that one piece of the puzzle is going to kick you out of contention, right? So as we read our applications, it's a very holistic review. And I know holistic is an overused word in our profession, but it is us looking at a variety of things. And one of the things we do look at is experience. And experience can come in a variety of ways. One way is to think about extracurricular experience, right? And what did you do outside of the classroom, right? And how were you involved in your community in whichever way you define your community? And why is this important to us, right? Past performance indicates, and it's a really good indicator of future performance, right? So if you are the type of student that has been actively involved in your community, the expectation is you're going to come to our schools and you're going to behave in very similar ways. And we want that, right? We don't want you to come to law school and spend all of your time in the library, right? It's important. You need to study. I don't mean to, in, say that you shouldn't be in the library. You should go to the library. You shouldn't spend all of your time there, right? And you should spend some of your time taking what you learned in the classroom and applying it in real life. And so we do look at that extracurricular angle of things. We also look at work experience. Now, some of you will come directly from college, and your work experience may be the things you did over the summer, and we look at that. Others of you will take some time off and will have more substantial work experience. Now, we're not looking specifically for legal experience, right? It's not a situation where we say we're going to give you 2 extra points if you're coming to us from a law firm or with that background. What's more important to us in terms of work experience is what you got out of it, right? And I'll leave you with a really short story. I was talking to a young man. I was visiting, I think this was at Dartmouth, and I was visiting the group there. And he stood up in front of a room and asked for my advice on which of two jobs he should accept. And he described both of them. And the first one, he was going to work at a law firm. He very straightforward, working at a law firm. He said he doesn't think he's going to be doing substantive work because he's just coming out of college. And then the second option was to come to California and to work at a film company in Hollywood. And it was a horror film company. And he said it's not a good company. They don't make good films, but it's horror films, and he loves horror films and is really interested in film. And I remember saying to him, if you could hold up a mirror to your face and see how you described each of those jobs, you would know the right answer to your question. He would get so much more out of that job working with a horror film company than he would at the law firm. He knew he wanted to be a lawyer, but imagine what that application would look like when the reader can see the passion for his film work, right? So don't go into the workplace thinking, I need to work at a law firm because it's going to give me a leg up. Find the work you're most interested in and then go from there. And that would be my advice.
Yeah. Kind of piggybacking on Dean Faye's I think you should do what is important to you and what's worth your time and energy. You can't do everything, but because the field of law has so many different kind of opportunities and so many different kind of fields, you will probably be able to practice law in something that you really care about. So it's more, I think, generally more meaningful. And when, as a reader, when people show that passion and dedication and show excellence in the things that they decided to do, is the way that makes a positive impression in the application. You should never do something to impress others per se. You should first of all impress yourself. Well, that will make you say that this was all worthwhile for me, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm proud of, and this is what I bring to the table at your respective law schools. Those things go a really long way, I think, in the review process. We're not looking for just one or two specific types of individuals. We appreciate and value diversity and different experiences and accomplishments in our student body so that there's an amazing interaction where students could learn from each other based on their experience and outlook and background. So I would just encourage you to do that. I think with that said, you don't have to have legal experience, but you should give some really valid reasons why you want to go to law school and why you want to practice law. Why not just you want to spend maybe tens or hundreds of $1,000s in a legal education and it's not just for 3 years. Your whole reason for earning a JD is to practice law in some way or another. So and the law schools are here to help you become hopefully a great practitioner of law after your 3 years with us. So I think there are some one of the things that I think will be good for law schools, I think a lot of law schools like to know, is that do you know what you're getting yourself into by applying to our respective law schools and the this professional field that you're pursuing. But that doesn't require you to have a legal experience. There's been some really successful applicants at our law school. They're teachers, they're strong advocates for their students, and they felt like being an education attorney will make a greater impact than what they were doing in the classroom, for example. And so they don't have really any perceptible or clear legal experience, but they are familiar enough with the law and how they're helping their students. And they know that the missing piece in their next step in their life and career is the legal education. So there are so many different ways to show that you're committed to earning a JD so that you could practice law than saying that you had an internship or one or two experience at working at some kind of legal organization or firm.
Fantastic. Those are very, very incredibly valuable pieces of advice. We really appreciate that. And actually, on a similar vein, talking about admissions, this question is for Cornell Law School and Stanford Law School. Could you please share some brief tips on preparing a compelling personal statement or a diversity statement for the application? And what is something that usually stands out for the admissions office while reading applicants' essays?
So I can tell you what you can do to stay away from, right, when it comes to personal statement, but I'll start with some tips on what to do first. So I would say number one thing is to think about your experiences and what has shaped your motivation. Why is law school the best next step for you? I think some compelling personal statements that I've read are usually students that take some time to think, whether it's, maybe they have a conversation with their pre-law advisor or they take time to figure out what they want to write. For example, our personal statement is 5 pages. I know most schools is going to be 2 pages. So for us specifically, I would say usually students have to read the questions and answer what we are asking them. I do find that a pitfall is students will start answering one question and then go to another topic, and usually that the potential for that statement could have been that much better. And so if student took a little bit more time to think about it and workshop it, it could make a great personal statement. So I would say, yeah, definitely think about the motivation, have a conversation with trusted people, and go from there. And the second part, what we look for, usually when I'm reading applications, I'm looking for maturity, I'm looking for authenticity. I'm also trying to figure out why is the law school the best next step for the student, and just reading through the application. So I think making sure that the narrative reveals the student, who they are. And one thing that I would suggest for the student to stay away from is summarizing their resume, right? I do tend to see that a lot where students kind of tell us exactly what they've done on the resume. I already see that. Try to use every space of the application in a strategic way where you are sharing different parts of yourself. Those would be some of my advice.
I would add to that. That was a great answer, by the way, Camilla. I like that. I would add that we're each trying to build a class that has a range of voices and a range of experiences, right? And we all know that we're never gonna get that from the two data points of your test score and your GPA. They're not going to reveal a lot to us. They're going to reveal things, but not a lot. And when I say GPA, I actually mean your academic record, because the GPA by itself is meaningless without knowing what's behind that, those 3 digits. But your personal state, there's a reason why we're calling it the personal statement, right? It adds that personal aspect to the application. So my first tip would be to understand that your statement is a story, right? And your task as an applicant is to become a storyteller, right? I'm always I'm a sucker for a good story, right? And I'm looking for that. And we all have many stories to tell. Each of us has many, many stories. You have to pick the story you want us to hear. You have to pick the story that you want us to learn about you. And second, when I turn the last page of your statement of any of the essays you write, and it's a virtual page, right? It's not a real piece of paper. Uh, I want to walk away knowing something more about you, right? And you have to leave something behind on those pages, right? Something behind of yourself. And you want to have to make the reader say, I want to meet this person in real time, right? And to have that happen, you have to do a fair amount of self-reflection and introspection, right? You cannot write a compelling personal statement without that. And now, self-reflection and introspection, these are not things you add to your calendar, right? It's Thursday evening between 7 and 8, I'm going to do some self-reflection, right? This has to become a habit. In order to write a really good and compelling statement, you have to create the habit and you have to keep working at it, right? And then the personal statement and the stories will flow so much better. And so the advice too I would give to you is you're going to have many drafts of a personal statement. I don't think I've met anyone yet who has written their personal statement on the first try. I have someone here in my 1L class who told me he had 30 plus versions. And that's a lot. And I said, please tell me some of those versions were just moving a comma, right? Or taking out a single word. And he said, towards the end, it was that, right? But it is something that you have to set aside time for. And you're going to do multiple drafts. You're going to put a draft on the shelf, come back to it later, and you may say to yourself, I need to start from scratch again. But when you sort of map out your journey to law school, make sure you put a good amount of time on that calendar to spend on on writing the personal statement.
Perfect. And I think just for time purposes, our last question, so that we make sure that every law school gets enough opportunity to be able to answer all. What concrete resources does your institution offer to support students from underrepresented backgrounds, both academically and professionally? And this question is directed towards UCLA School of Law and Georgetown Law. Oh, I apologize. I believe you're muted again. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that my 4-year-old isn't, heard on this conversation. All right. So in terms of resources that we have, one is something called the RISE program. And RISE is an opportunity for students who don't have, say, people in their family who are lawyers or don't have as much experience with law. They come to campus early, and in that time that they're there, they meet with professors, other members of the staff, the dean's office, alums, and just kind of get a little bit of an introduction to law school before it starts. And once you're in RISE, you're in RISE for the duration of your experience at the school. So it's just kind of a nice group of folks that get to know each other, and you have a little bit of an extra, like I said, mentoring and just some academic support before you get going. We also have like a peer mentor um, organization where 2 and 3Ls will basically be mentors to 1Ls, and certainly they'll talk about academic matters, but it can also just be like navigating law school in general and just sort of how do you balance all of this work and still have fun and keep your mental health, intact. So that's something that we have. And we also have traditional tutoring, where we again have 2 and 3Ls who are specifically sort of picked out for being great students in certain areas that can help students who might need a little support. I'm trying to see what else I had written down here. Um, there's also the first years, there's a program we have called 1L 101, which is a series of programs led by faculty and administrators on topics including things like briefing cases, synthesizing material, preparing for exams. And then finally, we do have a writing center. And as many of you all know, legal writing might be different than the writing that many people have done before. So the Writing Center is just a place where you can go and kind of get extra support if you want to work on your writing. I should probably also mention we do have affinity groups such as BALSA, LALSA, APALSA, and NALSA. These are different organizations that people can join just to kind of have fellowship and network and just have that kind of support with other groups of people.
Yeah, and just in the interest of time, I'm just going to kind of briefly list some of the things that we have. Some of it does overlap with what Talia just mentioned as well. I'll just begin with at UCLA, our attrition rate for academic reasons is actually 0%. So no one flunks out at UCLA Law School. We have a really robust academic support program just across the board. So as Talia did mention, we also have student identity groups that are incredibly supportive of our incoming new 1Ls. I've heard countless stories about them sharing outlines and providing advice. We also have mentor programs, current student and alumni mentor programs as well. We have a full structured academic support program that is led by one of our law professors that includes upper class TAs, if you will, academic counseling, bar success programs. And during orientation, we also have what we call Law School 101, very similar to, I think, the 1L program that Talia mentioned as well. Our Law School 101 does introduce how to read a case, how to brief a case, how to outline a case, what to look for in a final exam. So everyone starts off on the same at the same level and same foundation and springboarding into the next week of your 1L career. We also have mental wellness, which I think is really, really important. I can't remember which of my colleagues mentioned. Oh, I think it was Dean Deal mentioned that, we don't want everyone just studying in the library, right? We're trying to not just build you academically and intellectually, but also want to make sure that you are healthy in all ways, meaning physically, spiritually, mentally, and all of emotionally and all of that. So we have lots of mental wellness programs. We have Wellness Wednesdays, mind, body, heart initiatives, meditation, live music, yoga, the Run Club. And more. And then finally, our career services office. It is a great asset to all of our students and probably the best friend department for all of our students until you graduate and beyond.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all those responses. Now we're moving on to the second segment of today's event. So we're opening up the breakout rooms for the short amount of time we have left today. And so for participants, feel free to move around, shuffle around. They're all labeled under the institution that the representatives are here to speak of. So they're opened up, and we understand that we're also a little short on time. So if either panelists or attendees, if you have to leave, please feel free to do so. But if you also want to stay and continue the conversation, you're more than welcome to do so. We'll close up the breakout rooms in time before the event finalizes, just to give some parting words, and we can head right into it. Wonderful. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone for attending the panel this evening. We truly appreciate your participation and dedication to learning more about the law school admissions process. Same to panelists. Thank you for offering your time and helping enlighten us with all of your very insightful and valuable pieces of advice and perspectives. And I apologize for the shortness of time towards the latter segment of our panel today, but we hope that you were all able to have some engaging conversation. And for panelists, if you have any information that you would like for us to pass on to today's registered attendees, we will gladly be able to do so. You can send them over to our email. And for everyone, if you have any further questions, you can direct them to ucsdcappypd@gmail.com. I'll put that into our chat in a second. But we hope you have a lovely rest of your day. We hope to see you at future Kappa Alpha Pi events. And of course, if you'd like to stay to chat, you are more than welcome to do so. But thank you all.
Thank you.
Everyone, have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a great evening.